Good afternoon, everybody. I see some of you commenting in here. Good afternoon, Mary, Patty, Beverly. Good to see you all here, and welcome to everybody that's showing up now. This is goal planning. We got almost 3 days before 2022 is over. So hopefully we are getting ready, if we haven't already, for 2023. And that's what we're going to kind of do today. We're going to help you get ready for that, kind of know our numbers, know what we want, hopefully establish some of those needs, demands, dreams, wishes, desires that we have out there in the next 40-ish, 45-ish minutes. That's what we're going to cover today. This is a new platform, guys. I am using StreamYard. That way I can do this webinar style. I also have the ability to push this over to my Facebook page as well as my YouTube channel in efforts to hopefully to see what happens and how it works. So welcome everybody for being here. I appreciate you all being here. If you could, in the chat box, tell me one big success for 2022. And while you're doing that, for me, it's doing this. I've started a couple new programs this year. I've done a couple lead generation programs. I actually did one for a company where I built essentially a launch program. So it's been really good, and I'm pretty excited about that. Hopefully you guys are having a good year as well. 2021 and 2022 were extremely busy and hectic years out there. So hopefully it worked for you all as well. Nice, Mary. That's awesome. Congratulations. That is very cool. Well, congratulations on that. So what we have here today is we have goal planning. We will come in here. We're going to kind of walk you through and help you establish your desires, help you establish your wants, your dreams, your motivations, kind of your why, right? And then what we will do. Awesome, Patty. That is awesome. Hello, Linda. How are you? Hope you're doing well. So that's what we're going to kind of go through that. We're going to go through the process. We're also going to come through. There's some sheets out there, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. You can log into this where you can actually download the documents you have not. I sent emails out to you yesterday, maybe Monday, where you could actually download documents ahead of time and do that. And don't worry, folks, when this is done and it processes out and does all those fun things, on that same web page that I sent you yesterday, there will be a link here. For those of you that are here, that's great. For those of you that will see this on the recording, you get it on the recording, and that will be available to you. And I appreciate that. So let's get started here. So first off, if you guys don't know who I am, most of you guys do. I've been a realtor since 2006, trainer in 1995. I teach CE for the state of Illinois and a couple other states. I'm also our local MLS instructor. I have trained several 500 companies, Fortune 500 companies out there, national speaker, and I am a certified coach with the John Maxwell team, which means if you are looking for that next level up and looking to do what you're needing to want and do to grow your business, then you can always reach out to me and have that conversation. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end as well. But again, one last chance, folks, if you just capture that QR code in there, you will see, you will be able to get and see the documents in there. There's about a 7-8 page document that'll help you run through a lot of this out there. There's also, which is really nice, a spreadsheet. For those of us that do not want to calculate out numbers, I have built a spreadsheet for you all that will help calculate out those numbers and let you know what you need to do for 2023. So let's start off. I did ask this at the very beginning, but I do want you to think about this. That's why I asked that question right off the bat. What was successful for you in 2022? And I want you to think about that. And again, if you get a chance, write in the chat box, what was successful for you in 2022? Write those things that worked well for you. And it doesn't have to necessarily be the big win. It can just be things that you did, teams that you joined, um, programs that you started, things like that. If you can put those in there, it's going to be helpful for you. And just kind of think about that for a second. Let's kind of go back and think about what worked this year, right? So take a second there. You don't have to write them in the chat box if you don't want to, but if you can, write them in there. If otherwise, just write on a piece of paper, have them out there. Yeah, postcards. I like that, Sylvia. I do think, and I've been teaching people that a lot this year, that postcards are working because if you actually look at your mailbox, it's not nearly as full as it used to be, right? A lot of people are doing more email. They're doing a lot of other programs, and other things out there that, in all honesty, are a whole lot more economical. I mean, they're free, right? But you don't have to worry about that. So that does work for you really well. Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, statistically speaking, referral Beverly and that repeat business always is a very strong and extremely great business avenue for us, right? That is essentially where I get almost all my business from the real estate side of the world. Is essentially for people that know, like, and trust me, and that's all I really work on at this point in time. Although this year I am going to try doing a couple new marketing strategies that I believe will work and see what goes from there. So thank you for that. That works well. Now, I want to flip it on you just a second. I want you to think in here and ask yourself a little bit tougher of a question. So, all those things that worked for you in 2022, is there anything in there that might hurt you in 2023? Or maybe not use such an aggressive word. Let's say that will not be as helpful in 2023, right? What are those things out there in your business that you're going to look at that will not be as helpful for you in the coming year? So, why do I ask that? I'm going to let you go back. I started real estate in 2006, as I said. And 2006 was great, a lot like the last couple of years, right? You essentially planted a sign and the home sold. I always laugh because the first brokerage I worked with, they always told me I should get 2 buyers for every 1 listing I got. And I always laughed. I'm going, I couldn't even, my average market time was 5 days. I didn't even have enough time to do an open house or even really put a flyer out. I mean, as soon as I wanted to put a just listed sign, I needed to put the just pending sign out there, right? Or put the pending or whatever out there. So I wasn't building a lot of buyer business. Nice, Linda. That is good. Yeah, new networking group. I tell you what, networking I think is going to be huge in 2023. Can't even believe how big I think that one's going to be. But when you're there, you have that, right? So 2006, I started 2007. The world started shifting a bit, and 2008 it collapsed on us, right? So I wasn't getting those market times and I wasn't doing that stuff. So I actually had to go out and change my business model. I actually had to learn short sales and foreclosures. Well, in probably 2013 ish, might have been 14. I could see that, the short sale business was starting to slow up, especially the foreclosure business was starting to slow up. So then I needed to reach back out and talk to all my sphere again about, the next buy process, who they know, what they know. I had to change that cycle because I did not want to fall in the same trick I did in 2020 or in 2007 that I fell in 2014. So I wanted to slip through that. So I had to learn and change my market. So ask yourself, what do you got to be ready for? What is that business? What is that things you need to change? Is there a new skill that you're going to have to learn? Um, I will tell you right now, folks, I think we're going to see a very neutral market. It might lean towards a buyer market. I think next year will be a very big neutral market, which means when we are doing these things that we're going to have to pick up negotiation skills again, right? It's not just the buyer wants this and the seller has to take what we say. There's going to be some give and take. And we're already starting to see that. We're seeing cancellations on a rise. We're seeing more price changes on the rise, right? We're starting to see some of that stuff. So we're seeing that market change a bit. What I am showing you here is the stats I took from Lawrence Yun. Dr. Lawrence Yun is our chief economist for NAR. And he tells us he thinks next year we're going to see about 7% less in unit sales. We'll see, because that the laws of economics, right? That we will see out here a increase in home price, but overall we'll see a negative dollar volume. Now, this is year over year numbers. This isn't saying that we're seeing absolutely loss in production. This is just not quite as good as it's been the last couple of years, right? 2024, we'll see a rebound. There's several reasons for some of this stuff. Our economists also think we will see mortgage prices drop, which could be interesting. But I think with all this, you're going to start seeing more of a neutral market. You're going to start seeing no advantage for a buyer or a seller. So our negotiation skills are going to have to pick up. So that's one of the things I think of. I would look at your business as well and look at it. Are you going to see subdivisions start to slow down in sales? Are you going to start seeing, for instance, the luxury market slow down, right? What are things that you're going to have to do in your market to prepare for the next round of whatever that is? So again, ask yourself that question. What helped you? What helped you in 2022 that may hurt you in 2023? Just ask yourself that question. Be prepared. Be ready for what we need to do to pick up that business in 2023. Again, folks, if you have any questions, some new people came out. If you have any questions, let me know right in the chat box. That is always helpful. That's what we're doing here. Now, the next thing I want you to do is on a piece of paper. You can even write them in here in the chat box if you want to have them out there. Tell yourself or ask yourself and write it for yourself. What are those indicators for you for success? Is it a certain amount of transactions? Is it a certain amount of door knocks? Is it a certain amount of people you talk to? What is that influence that you like to have? What is that indicator for success, right? So what I'm trying to get you to think of right now, folks, is I'm trying to get you to think of those things that are going to keep you energized and moving forward and productive. I believe I was listening to Buffini this week, or last week rather. I think he said there's going to see roughly about a 3% drop in total agents population for NAR by next year. Not, you won't see that total that way, but that's what he thinks the numbers will be. And some of that's going to be because, real estate is fun and it can be extremely exciting, but it can also be very stressful. So we got to start identifying those indicators for our business that will help keep us charged, motivated, energized, running, right? So what are those things? What are those things that are going out there? Another way of saying this, and I don't have this on here, is what's your why? Right? What's that why that we have in our business? Yeah, Linda, I would agree completely. Continue talking to people, collaboration with brokers and clients. I think those are huge. So when we're looking at this and we are working in our business, why are we doing it? Why are we getting up every morning? Why are we doing what we're doing? Who are we doing it for? What are those motivators that are keeping us emboldened, energized, keep that blood moving in our thing? So when you wake up in the morning, you don't feel druggy. You feel like you got to get up and you got to take on the world, right? We need to know what those are. So look at it. Put the indicator of success. I would also write it on a piece of paper. Why? Right? What's my why? Write that out there. Identify what that charge, what that motivator is for your business. Now, the next in here, where do you spend your time and money right now? Hopefully, we as agents, as business professionals, are tracking where we spend our dollars. I know our accountants and I know our tax people here in, about 2 months want to know that. 3 months if we are just doing it on our own. 2 months, by the way, if 2.5 months if you are a corporation. But where do you spend that time and that money, right? Who are you talking to? Who are you marketing to? Are those marketing flyers working? Get is door knocking working? Is working your neighborhood, your subdivision working? Is doing the networking group working, right? Where's that time and money being spent? And we need to know where we're going to spend more time. Right? Going back to that first question, what helped and hurt us, you may need to change that. But what's going on? What's working? How's that working out for us, right? What is going on? Flyers, emails, marketing, CRMs, right? Tools like that. What's going on in your business that's working? Hopefully, every time you got a new piece of business, you mark down where the business came from. Was it a past client? Was it a lead generation? Was it internet? Was it door knocking? Was it an open house? Right? Where does it go? Where is it from? Beverly, I couldn't argue with that, or couldn't agree with you that more. Getting in front of the talking points is going to be, I think, extremely huge this year, which means using your local MLS tools is going to be important this year for you because you're going to want to make sure you know the data in your area. I always laugh because what was it? It was about well, what 2013 ish, 2012, somewhere around there was about the bottom of the market, and the market started picking back up right around then. And the news media was coming out all the time talking about pricing is 20%, 20% increase in price from last year, and that was a nationwide total. Well, I was getting sellers that would say, well, my home was worth 100,000 last year, so it's going to be at least 120 this year, right? Well, I live in DeKalb, and that was where my market is and still is. And I would actually have to go in and pull out the charts in InfoSparks and show them that actually DeKalb is still struggling. We're actually about a 5% depreciation from year over year. And getting in front of those talking points are huge. But yeah, where do you spend your money and your time? How do you get through and talk about that? Where are you going to spend and where are you going to double down on your efforts to get more business from that particular category? Now, again, on the piece of paper, you do have an example of some things that I would recommend you filling out. This would be a good little check and balance sheet that's out there for you, right? How many days did you work in 2022? How many days did you prospect, right? Hopefully those days match. Probably don't, but hopefully those days match. If they don't match, I would ask yourself a question: why don't they match, right? In theory, we should be prospecting every day we work, right? Now, I get it. Sometimes days get in the way, right? You got more closings and things happen. And I totally get that. But I would always say that number should be as close to the same as you possibly can. How many contacts do you have in your database, right? How many listing appointments did you have? How many listings did you take in? How many expired? How many canceled? How many were sold? How many price reductions did you have? How many closed transactions? What was the total paid income? How many pendings at year end? How many pendings do you have right now? What's your year end listing inventory? Average sale price? And what's your average commission? Now, if you don't know that stuff, that could be your office numbers, right? Please understand, I'm also a licensee instructor for the state as well, nationwide. When we're talking commission, remember there is no standard or baseline commissions. These are your averages or your office averages. Be a good listener. Let them finish their thoughts prior to you responding. I would agree. Do more videos than email chat. People don't like to read, but will listen and reply. I couldn't agree more. One of my most favorite apps these days is Marco Polo or Marco. It's not Marco Polo. It's Marco. Um, Actually, maybe it is Marco Polo. See if I pull that up here real quick. Yeah, it's Marco Polo. It's a good little video chat you can do with groups, many people. It's free. It's awesome. And I would agree with that. I think it's extremely beneficial because they will spend time. They'll re-listen if they have to. And it's extremely helpful. I couldn't love that. Thanks, Mary. I love Marco Polo. It is absolutely great. All right. So now that you've looked back and you've taken that collection and you spend some time, and I would recommend folks, I'd spend today, tomorrow, Friday, maybe in part of New Year's Eve before you go enjoy the night. to sit back there and just make an inventory, not, and I won't say a mental inventory because we all do that. Write it down. Writing is what matters. I'm going to say that again. Writing is what matters. When you are doing this and you're working on your business or in your business, just saying I can remember it is not awesome. It's true. I'm sure you can remember it, but there is something about writing it, right? How it works with your subconscious, how it works with your neural pathways. There is something to that. I am that guy, like I'm sure some of us in this room is, where we think that just thinking about it is enough. Now, thinking about it is important. There's no doubt about it. But there's actually studies being done that people that have actually wrote it out, and there's only about 3% people that actually write their goals, are more successful than the rest of us that do not write them out. So write them out. And that also means write your collection of last year's data points and have it accessible so it's reviewable. So with that, what do you want for 2023? What are those goals? What are those points we want? Just like this guy out here in this picture. What do we want? What is that big dream for 2023? Now, if you want to write longer term goals, if you want to go 5 years out, 10 years out, 15, great, go do it. But see if you can't find a way to figure out what 2023 looks like in that realm. What is that number? What does that mean? What are we trying to accomplish in our business? Now, the first thing I want to tell you is you probably should have different categories, right? Your personal life, your business life, your religious side of that, your relationship side of that, right? What are those? What do they look like? And what are we trying to accomplish in here? So, what does that do? What does it mean? But today we're just going to talk about our real estate goals, our realtor professional business side of the goals. So what does that look like? Now, when I'm talking results, you can think that you want to have 5, 10, 15 transactions, and that's fine. But I am going to challenge you today to think about that into a dollar amount. I'm going to challenge you to actually make it something specific, right? Not I want to make more than last year. I don't want that. I don't want us to sit there and say I want to be rich, right? Um, Even saying I want to be happy. Happy is great, but it's not measurable. It's not something you're going to be able to qualify or quantify. So when you get this, let's think about what that number is, right? Is it double what you made last year? Is it a specific number? Is it um, like a percentage growth, right? 25%, 30%. What is it, right? What is that goal? But make it quantifiable, right? Is it 100,000, 150,000, 200,000? And do that. I want you to do real quick here, folks. And this is where I stress people out. I want you to ask yourself a question, whatever number it is you just thought of right now, whatever it is that you just wrote on a piece of paper, and please write it on a piece of paper. Double it real quick. How'd you feel? Was it scary? So here's the reason I asked that question, folks. When you do this and you ask this in here and you make this work this way, and I just had you double it, the number needs to be energizing enough. You need to have um, a little electricity going through the body, right? It can't numb you. We don't want that, but you want that. As I always call it, the little toe tingler, right? Just enough to keep you going, to keep you alert. That's going to have you out there. If I say I want to make $25,000, okay, great. That's probably not going to get me going. That's whatever, right? It may be enough for you. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying for myself, that's probably not going to be enough to do anything to say, okay, great. But if I come out here and say, okay, it's 5 times that, okay, now that's a little bit more interesting of a number. And what does that mean to me? What do I have to do? Is that reachable? right? Now, you heard me just say something. Is that reachable? That's the wrong question. How do I reach that? What steps do I got to take? How do I accomplish it? Who do I need to hire? What leverages do I need? Right? Those are the questions I should have been asking. Not is it reachable? Right? Because here's the thing I want to tell every single one of you. Every goal is reachable. It may take creative thinking. It may take extra help. It may take coaching and mentoring. It may take a lot of different things, but it is all reachable. It is all accomplishable. It's all something we can do. So just ask it, right? Now, the next thing here is what I want to say is, okay, now that you picked that number, and I picked my number before I said double it, now ask yourself, what if I hit it? Or better yet, ask if when I hit it. What does that mean to me? When I hit my goal, what does that do for me? How does that change my life? What do I get to do? What do I get to go visit? Who do I get to go see? What does that do for my family? What does it do for myself? What freedoms do I gain? Ask yourself that what if. Now, again, I want you to do the same thing. For that number I challenged you with, whatever number you had and you doubled it, what if you hit that one? Or again, when you hit it, what does that do for you? So write that in the chat box, folks. If you hit your goal in 2023, when you hit your goal in 2023, what does that do for you? When that goal comes out and you accomplish your financial goal in 2023, December 31st, 2023, and you have made your goal, what does that do for you? How do you feel? What does it allow you to do? Nice, Sylvia. I love that. That's an awesome thing, right? That is awesome. I love the debt free. That's always a big motivator. That's a lot of why for a lot of people. That's huge. Linda, that I believe. It energizes me to enjoy my perk and also energizes me to do more. I I agree with that, right? I do think there is one thing that's really fascinating about hitting goals. And we're going to talk about this towards the end a little bit because I want you to think about it a little differently. It is weird when you hit a goal, right? How do you feel after it? When you hit that goal, it's energizing, quite literally, and you want more, right? There's dopamines that hit your body, quite literally, and now you're going to be addicted, so to speak. So it's always very interesting with that. Um, yeah, I agree, Mary. I think it's great. Yeah, Patty, I think that's always a big one too. I love the fact that not only can we help ourselves if we hit our goal when we hit our goals, but we can always help others, right? And there is family, friends, organizations that we're motivated by that we can do a lot with. And I think that's huge. And I think that's great, right? So we can picture, again, close our eyes, hit our goal, and see that helping hand, right? It's great. Beverly, that's always huge. Traveling and the accomplishment, right? I think that's great. So let me ask you this. I'm going to change this just a quick second. Anybody know what Mega Millions is at right now? In case you don't know, Mega Millions right now is at 650 million. If you bought tickets and you won it, what would you do with that money? Who could you help? What can you do? Sorry, folks. What's going on? How do you do that? What does it look like, right? If you hit that money. Now, my question is, the reason I asked you that is that's the gambler money, right? You go buy a $2 ticket and hopefully you make 650 million. I would agree, Regina. Invest in real estate would be huge. I would give most of it away. Oh, I totally get that. That'd be too much. Hold on a second, folks. Of course, you do a webinar, so when people don't want to call you. So you have that out there, and you have that. My thought is the reason I asked you that question is you might not. I don't know if you can make 650 million or not. Only you know if you can or can't. But we can do the same thing by controlling our lives and controlling our business. So it's always just something to think about how that translates. Now, with that, one of the things that I follow in there is a book, Think and Grow Rich by the Napoleon Hill. And I love this book because I went through it a couple of times with someone taught me how to do this and how to look at this book. And there's a very good chapter in there, chapter 6, and it's a chapter on desire. And this is an old book, and he interviewed all the rich in the world, essentially, or in the country. And he came out to some basic principles that goes out there. Almost everybody in their own way teaches these principles. If you go to Brian Tracy, he essentially has taken these principles and added to them, and he's done more with it, right? But what the chapter 6 is, it's on the chapter desire, and there's basically 6 steps for writing and accomplishing your goal. And that's what we're going to go through today. That's how we're going to get this done. Right? There are 6 steps. And what you're trying to do with these 6 steps is build the burning white heat of desire. And when you do that, you're going to have this out there. So there are 6 steps to accomplishing. The first step is what we just talked about. Identify that precise amount of money that you have going in your business. Have that exact amount of money that you're looking to make, right? It has to be precise. Now, again, I told you earlier, ask yourself if you can double it, or not even ask yourself, just double it and see how you felt. And some of us sit there and say, well, I've always told I got to make smart goals, right? I got to make specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And I would agree. It's all 100% correct. We do have to do that. But here's the question I'm going to ask you. Who says a high goal is not attainable? What belief systems have we put in place in our business that makes that unattainable? Right? I'm going to ask that again. Who says a high goal is not attainable or realistic? Right? Les Brown, a very great speaker, tells us that most people fail not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. Again, Les Brown says most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. Now, this does not mean you should make unreachable goals, because we have things in our body that goes through a process. And if we can't do it, or we're convinced we can't do it, we're not going to do it. We're going to tell ourselves all the things at the time. So we've got to have this attainable, realistic side of it. But just because it's higher than what we're used to does not mean it's not attainable. Now, here's what goes on, folks. One of the things that is really interesting about what happens with that, you set this goal. All the habits that we have put in place today to do what we're doing today will get us to what number we make today. So to make that next goal, we're going to have to shift some things. And our subconscious, our body, our whatever is going to fight certain things because it's used to doing everything it's done, right? It's building a new muscle. So understand that you're going to have to do other things and build new habits in here, and you will fight yourself. It's going to happen. You got to learn to have those intentional habits that other people do to grow past that, right? It is a great one to make sure that you have in place. So make sure you have that attainable goal. Doesn't mean it can't be high. Second, what will you give to get what you want? Now, this one's a rather interesting step, and most of us think about this in more of a sacrifice way, right? So some people will think, well, if I need to make, or if I want to net $150,000, $200,000, whatever it is, I'm going to have to eat more ramen noodles. I'm going to have to go out less. I'm going to have to, um, you know, go to different grocery stores or whatever it is, right? We think a little more exact, right? But it's not just talk about that. That's definitely for sure part of this. But this is also talking about the fact that when we're doing this, we may have to understand that we have to change habits of ourselves that we're doing already, right? I may have to get up 30 minutes earlier to do what I want to do. I may have to start hanging out with different people, right? There's an old saying out there that you are the sum of the five people that you hang out with, right? So you may have to change that a little bit. It doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your friends. It may mean that happens by default, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, right? So when you think about this, understand that there will be fundamental shifts in what happens in our lives. And we have to be okay with that. Some things probably can't keep going on the same way. They can't probably keep going the same way. Because again, the great habits that we built today successfully got us to where we are right now, but probably won't get us to what our next goal is. The example I always give, I challenge a lot of my realtor friends this way all the time. And it's a big, hard push. This is the one I am personally fighting right at the moment. And I know this, right? And I still fight it. When do you hire that first assistant? When do you hire that first or partner up with that first, cooperating agent, right? When is that step, right? There's a lot of folks that I know that have plateaued in their business because they write all the contracts, they do all that stuff, and they don't hire a transaction coordinator. And there's a ceiling in that regards. And until they leverage out some of the things that they're not good at to someone that is good at that, they're always going to have a struggle. Again, I fight the same thing right now. I was actually just talking before I came on today's session. I was talking with a buddy of mine. Um, I probably need, well, I don't probably need, I do need to. I got to figure out how I'm going to do it this year. I need to leverage out marketing for someone else that's much better at it so I can get better brand awareness across the board. It's one of the challenges that I'm going to face this year. And that's one of the things I got to look at doing, right? So that's something I got to get rid of off of my plate and put on someone else's plate. So that's also the other part of what I got to give up to get what you want. You got to figure out that there probably are things to hit the goals you need to do that are going to be leveraged somewhere else. Next, the date you want to accomplish this by. I always like the end of the year type numbers, right? December 31st, 2023, right? But you pick the number. Now, this goal, we're talking about 2023. Maybe you want to make it a 2 month goal, a 6 month goal, a 12-month goal, whatever it is. You can do that, and that's fine. And I would encourage you to look at that. I'm going to encourage you right now to make this a 12-month goal. And here in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm going to talk about then breaking it down a little bit further. But I want to make this 20-minute goal. So I am going to make $100,000 by December 31st, 2023, right? Something like that. That's what you're going to have. Next is create that definite plan that goes into place with this. What are you going to have to do? How many listings you have to get? How many people do you got to talk to? Who you're going to talk to? How are you going to market to them? Right? What is those plans? How are you going to get the money that you're trying to hit? What does it look like for you? Right? What is that plan? Now, in that workbook that I built for you guys, this spreadsheet's in there. It's a little document you can fill out. It has all the equations you can fill out to get it done, right? There's some things you're going to need to know. You're going to need to know what your total gross income is going to be. If you want, you can put that as your net income. You're just going to have to calculate out your expenses beforehand if you so choose to do that. Not a big deal. Then you're going to want to break it down to percent buyers versus sellers, right? What is your business coming from? Is it a 50-50 business? Right? Do you have the same amount of buyers and sellers you have? Normally, it's usually one way or the other. Usually there's one shift one way or the other. For me, I was very much more on the list side than I was on the buy side. So I always had more. Then you want to know that will calculate to be what the gross income is per category. And then you're going to want to know what your average sale price per category is. And if you don't know that, it's not a big deal. Talk to your office and find out what the office sale price is. Or if you're trying to work in a subdivision or a neighborhood, just go looking it up. Go search. Go do a map search around that area and take the average of that area. It's really easy to do. I would do it in InfoSparks, map out an area and figure out what the average sale price in that area is, and that's what it's going to be. Or better yet, if one of your goals is to make more money, and one of those steps to make more money is to increase your average dollar price, then figure out what subdivision that is and figure out what that price point is, right? Another way of doing that. Then you're going to know what your average commission is per sales. Again, if you don't have an average commission yet, no big deal. You can take your office numbers on that one. It's always good. But again, these are your numbers. Again, as a licensed CE instructor, what I'm going to tell you is there is no such thing as a standard or average in our industry. You can have an average and your office can, but there is no such thing as a standard or an average. That will calculate out your check. And then if you take those numbers out, you take the gross income divided by your check, you will figure out how many closings you need per category. Now, if you really want to break down, and we're not going to spend that time today on this sheet, but you can come in here and break down and take your split out of that, your office split, and then recalculate the dollars, which will give you numbers. Usually it's about, depending on your number growth and what your dollar is, it's usually it's probably about a 20% increase in your listings needed, sales and listings needed. And then if you really want to break down further, you can go over on the rest of that sheet and calculate out the rest of that to figure out what your daily contacts are necessary for the business that you need to have. The odds are, folks, it's probably going to be an average for most of us, at least 10 a day that we're going to need to have. Probably closer to 20 contacts a day. That's probably the guess. All right. How are we doing so far? Everything makes sense? Now, the other thing that's really nice about this one, folks, is if you don't really want to do that calculation yourself, again, in there, I have a spreadsheet for you. It's an Excel spreadsheet. You can open up in any spreadsheet tool, doesn't really matter, but you can calculate this out. All you got to do is fill out the green and it will calculate it out for you and tell you what you need. And you don't have to worry about all that math. I made it easy for you. I filled and created that spreadsheet. It's available to you for free. All right. The sixth step is we write it down. We write this down because writing it down matters. We write this down because it matters. As I was hinting at earlier for you folks, is when we are looking at this and we are doing this in our business, the most successful people in the world write down their goals, and only 3% of us do it. And the running joke most speakers or coaches will tell you is 3% of the world writes down their goals, the rest of us work for them, right? I don't think that's necessarily true, but I think it's a powerful point. Write them down, physically write them down. Again, as I was telling you earlier, there is a neuroscience behind that that actually works to it. I always laugh because I think it so much matters more than like for a few years, I would write on the computer because my handwriting is horrible. I will tell you, physically write them down. Um, it's a struggle for me because my handwriting is not good, but you have it. Do I have the link? Yes, I'll put that in the chat box here in a second, Patty. I did. I gotta pull that up. Yes, I do have it. Bottom line, I will pull that up here in a second. And there we go. So write it down. Write them all the way down in there. You will have that available to you, and you put it in there. And then the sixth step is you read it twice a day. Once in the morning when you wake up, once at night before you go to bed. This is your vision statement. This is your affirmations are part of them. This is what you do to talk yourself into believing it. Please remember, one of the things that's really fascinating about our subconscious is that when you do this and you have this available to you and you're working on here, your subconscious doesn't know fact from fiction, right? It also doesn't know negative. If I tell you right now, don't picture a pink elephant, you've all pictured a pink elephant. I told you not to. You did it anyways. We just know how to move forward, right? We just know that stuff. So when you are saying this statement and you are saying this out loud, you want to say it. And this is my step. This is my additional thing to the Think and Grow Rich. You want to say this with the same energy and emotion of you actually having succeeded in this. This will build that white heat of desire. Again, I'm going to say that again. You're going to say this with the energy and the emotion and the freedom of debt and the freedom of energizing yourself and wanting to accomplish the next goal of actually accomplishing the goal. You want to make sure when you do this, you're feeling it. Now, the second part of that, my step is this: the sentence matters. I'm going to say it again. The sentence matters. There's a difference. If you see the one I did this a couple of years ago. I will make $120,000 by December 31st, 2020 by delivering high quality training, coaching, teaching, running, right? All these things. By the way, what I learned this time around, I'm simplifying this. This was too much, right? Simplify the statements. Focus on what you can focus on. Next one I wrote on December 31st, 2021, I have made $140,000, right? I put the difference in it. Now notice, I don't know if you notice this or not, there's a difference in that statement. Now I noticed in the year before that I didn't learn from that. So that's what I'm saying I learned. That sentence changed. So I didn't make it future. I made it a present tense sentence. When I do this, I make that sentence something that matters, right? I close my eyes and I say, on December 31st, 2023, I have made $150,000 by delivering blah, right? I haven't finished mine yet, so I haven't got all that done yet. But this matters, right? Be extremely have adjectives in there, high quality, right? Be very precise and be very specific what you're going to do. That's happening in there. Now, what I'm going to tell you is this. When you look at this and you do this, I'm going to encourage you to probably break this down to every 12 weeks. So this is the big goal, right? This is the big goal. I don't know if anybody's ever watched any any technology classes, any technology topics. Like one of the things I'm a big old nerd and I totally get this, but one of the things that fascinates me about airplanes is when they put the autopilot on. The autopilot does not take you in a straight line. What happens with that autopilot is it's going through a series of corrections the whole time, right? Because things are changing, right? Air pockets, wind bursts, whatever, right? There's all sorts of things going on when we're flying. And so when it's doing this, it comes out and it changes and it moves, right? So one of the things I encourage people to do is buy the book. Now, this is a field guide version, but buy the book to 12-week year. Because what I love about this book is it will help you take your yearly goal and break it out to quarterly and break it out to biteable chunks each time, right? And there's two reasons why I really like this for us for real estate. One of the reasons I really like this for us for real estate is very simply this. One, it is breaking into something that's more manageable, something that we can physically see and attain, right? Because sometimes a year out is a tough visualization for us. But two, we're seasonal, right? We're an extremely seasonal business. Right now, quote unquote, we're at the slow time of year. I mean, we just went through minus 40-degree weather. So things got a little slow. Well, do you want to have 5 listings you got to take in the first quarter or 20 listings when no one wants to leave their house? Or do you want to get 5 or like 3 in the first quarter and 8 over the summer where it's going to be a little easier to attain, right? So you can shift that stuff a little bit and make things a little bit more realistic to our dynamics of real estate, right? And the other thing that I think is really neat, which is what I'll be doing, is I still have all these goals. These goals here, teaching, leadership, disc, things like that. These are all things that I want to be doing, but I got to focus on one or two each time and then grow into the next one, right? I got to keep doing this. So these are all things I'll do, but I'll put them in each section of my business model that matter when it should matter. The 12-week year is by Brian P. Moran. Actually, let me see if I can pull that up. I might be saying that one wrong, actually. Yeah, it's Brian P. Moran. So you have that out there. Now, you have that there. Now, the last little bit in here, this is a little extra bonus time, and I'm going to go this relatively quick because we don't have much time left. But I do want to make sure you do this because I think it matters. One, this goes to how getting things done, right? When you're going to do this, make sure you have a routine, have those systems in place. Make sure you're adaptable. Make sure you're good to move and change it. For some of us that are veterans, and I see some of us in this room today, and I appreciate you being here, that some of you are a little more experienced and you have this. So the adaptable part might not be too much. But the way I tell you, if you're going to write down a calendar, like your daily calendar, put it in pencil right off the bat. That way you can adjust a little bit to make things make a little more sense. But when you do this, think about adding these type of events in your calendar. Now, I'm going to take a quick pause, folks. What I'm going to tell you right now, this is 2022, and you should be looking at your year-long calendar right now. And you should be putting in vacation time first, family/vacation time. That's the first thing you should be putting in that calendar. And then you schedule around that. You should have a couple weeks in the year, if not 3, throughout there that you're planning. And you should have a day a week you're taking off and probably a couple days over the weekend one time that you're taking off every month, right? You should be putting that stuff in. There is a true thing in real estate. It's called burnout, and it exists. Beyond that, when you're looking at your daily calendar, these are some of the things that you want to put in here: hot sheets, market time, how you're going to look at preview homes, how are you going to look at your business management, administrative type business parts. When are your appointments going to be done? When are you prospecting? When are you doing open houses, trainings, you time? When are you going to put time to reflect, right? Is it daily? Is it weekly? When are you doing them? And then the top one I have here is savers. This is from a book called The Miracle Morning. And The Miracle Morning talks about how you start your day. And you start it with these 6 things. You start with silence, which is meditation, affirmations, vision, exercise, read, and scribe. Barb, I'm happy to post those slides again. There will also be a recording afterwards as well. So no big deal there. You also, if you wanted to, you could put your calendar day that looks like this, right? You could break it down this way. You also could break it down into a daily/weekly calendar. This is kind of what I like. In here shows me what I'm doing each day, how I'm breaking it down, and what I'm doing. These are things that I like. Again, if you guys ever want those, you can always email me and let me know what that is, and I can put that out there for you. Now, the other thing in here, what I will tell you is when you're looking to fill your business, I always describe this as 3 buckets, right? It's for those of us that are true Chicago folks, these are your bozo buckets. Now, bozo buckets actually had 6, but the 3 were the easiest. The first 3 were always easy. They got harder the further they got out, obviously, but these are the 3. So your SOI, your sphere of influence, that to me is always by far the easiest one out there. Those people that know, like, trust you, that want to help you and see you grow. Then you have your niche or niche, depending on how you like to say it. Figure out what that niche or niche is, right? Figure out what you're going to do, who that bucket is, what you're filling out in there, right? This may change over time, right? When I first started real estate, it was short sales and foreclosures. Then it became internet lead generation for me. And then whatever next is, right? Again, take it back from my real estate career. It went from my sphere to short sale foreclosures, back to my sphere, basically to that area. That's where it was at. It may be investors. I think investors are going to have a big year next year, so that might be the conversation that you have, right? You'll have that in place to see what's going on. I see a lot of things out there that are doing that. I would pay attention to Inman. I would pay attention to Bigger Pockets. I'd pay attention to Wall Street Journal. They're showing signs in there that people are paying attention, and some of the rates will change. I think it'll make it lucrative for investors very quickly. With that being said, I appreciate your time. This link here will take you to a free coaching session if you want it, and I can help you run through your numbers and help you get yourself ready for 2023. I would encourage you taking advantage of it. I really do appreciate it. You guys don't even see it right now. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you all being here. If you guys have questions, I will stick around. Ask them in the chat box. I'm here to help in any way I possibly can. You'll also see my email address. Feel free to write that out and do it. Again, for some of you that missed or came in late, I'm going to have this recording up by this afternoon on the link. I'll send the email out and you can download it that way. Thanks, Mary. Have a great New Year's as well. But I'm here to help folks. So if you have questions in the meantime, while you're still here, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, as Mary said, have a happy new year, and we will see you in 2023. Thank you, Patty. Hope you have a great day. Thanks, Beverly. Thank you, Regina. Glad you can make it. Thanks, Sylvia. You have a great day and you have a great new year. All right, buddy. Well, I'm going to end this. You all have a great day, and we will see you in 2023.